Hi everyone, this is going to be a potential short series of videos showing how to set Foundry up for automation. This is how I set it up. It may not be suitable for you, it may not be, but this is hopefully a basic guide on things I use to make my life in Foundry easier as a DM. It allows certain automations, especially in combat, and to do with spells and features, makes those a lot easier for us. So what I've done, I've got a brand new world. It's completely fresh. You can see there are no actors, scenes or anything. The other thing I've done is I've already put the modules I'm going to be using already in here. Now, some of these are dependencies. When you select certain modules, it will tell you it needs this to work. Just agree to it. But these are the things that I use for basic automation. The only other thing is the share compendium. That's just that includes all things that I've set up on previous games, and then kind of combines it into a compendium that I can drag things from. Just so I have those. So these are already installed. So I guess the next thing is to set them up. So to do any kind of configuration, always to game settings and then configure. You got the basic core settings, system settings, and module settings. Core is basically Foundry itself. And it's just giving you details on how all this works, how you can set the token configurations, permissions for the role types, and that sort of thing. System settings is for D&D or your system of choice. So, for example, you can add currency weight, disable that, allow polymorphing, things like that. And then module setting is where you get this. So this shows you all the options that they have for the modules directly. Now, some will automatically come selected and picked. These are usually the ones that don't have many options, so or you might get one that's like debug, things like that. Other ones, such as combat utility belt, is a lot more involved. So you can see there is more options here. So what I'll do is go through them one by one and then set them up, and then we'll create a couple of actors and put them into, get some rolls and get some action shown. You can see how like dice rolls look and automation and how I set things like character sheets up and stuff like that. The first one on the list is combat utility belt. There's a bunch of options here, but the main thing is you click on computer and you get this. Now, I personally don't like it like that, so I'm going to turn that off and save it, so it makes it easier for me to see. So you select. Now, this is if you do XP. I don't. Concentrator. So this is a way of automated concentration abilities, spells and abilities for D&D 5e. I personally use MIDI QOL because that's now got this function there, so I don't use this. I use it mostly for enhanced conditions. Output. Yes, remove those. Suppress. I don't know what that one is, so I'm going to leave that for the moment. Hide names. Again, MIDI QL does this, so I need to do that. Pan select. So this is obviously if you want the camera to be taken to that token. I'm going to say yes. I was going to say and me to all. So this will move my camera to all the tokens. Reroll initiative, don't need to do. Temporary combatants, I do like this because it allows you to add a extra thing to a combat tracker if you need it. Trigger isn't set here, but it's comes part of this. And then I don't believe these two have much. So I do like to include this. So what this does, it will roll the hit points of a monster. So if you make a NPC, you set the formula for its hit dice and how its hit points is calculated. The moment you drop that from the tab onto the canvas, this will automatically roll hit points for it, and you can tell it to output it to the chat, or you can have it to hide and no one sees it. Yeah, so if possible, it's automatically rolled, hide the roll from the players. Yeah. So do all that and click save. Peeking. I forgot about that. Yeah, so you have to save it for each one, it looks like. Let's do those. Okay. Say yes to that. I think it's just pan, wasn't it? Pan me to all of them. Don't pan players, because if you pan players, it will take them to let's pan them to observer. So any tokens that they are that they own or have the right to view, it will take them to them. So which means they won't get panned to NPCs. So for example, if you have a hidden monster somewhere, you don't want your players being dragged to view an area where there's nothing there, because it's going to give it away. So we'll do that. And yeah, so we can close that. That's combat utility belt setup for me. Next one, dynamic active effects. Excuse me. So these are, it's in a way of adding an active effect and making them more dynamic, but allows you to set how they appear and how they update. I will show you. It's easier to show than kind of explain. I don't usually change much on here, so for the most part, let's leave that as it is. Lib wrapper. Yeah, I think that needs to be changed. Now the big one really for me is MIDI QOL. So before going to workflow settings, let's just check these ones. So hide those. Now I don't have fast forward rolls. I will show you all the difference between them at some point. You get to choose how your critical dice happen. I personally like max a critical die. So obviously what this does, base D&D, is you roll, when you score a crit, you roll double the number of dice that you would do. This gives you a different option. So you can max your normal damage, you can max the critical dice damage only, you can max all the dice, or you can just roll double roll damage. So, or you get nothing. So I personally like max critical. Dodge buttons. Yeah, so I do that for me. I like color borders. Untarget all. Okay, so those are the basic things there. Now the big thing is the workflow settings. Let's bring this up here. So this is where you get all your automation stuff from. So you can see you can set it 4 GMs and 4 players. So it's completely different either way. Now, auto attack roll, I do. I never do damage, never do fast forward. Attack and damage. And I hide. What does I usually do? Show attack d20 and damage total. Show hit miss and damage total. I think it's usually that one I use. So what this does, it kind of see here. So when I roll as a GM, it will show the players certain things about my dice rolls. On this one, it will only show that the target hit or miss and how much damage they took if they were hit. You can have it however you want. You can show it so that it shows the full formula, so they can see the bonuses involved, just the dice roll itself and no bonuses, or you can just see like the total. That's that for the GM. Players, again, auto, never. So if you say, excuse me, so if you say never, what will happen is they'll be asked to roll damage separately. If you say always, as soon as MIDI QL detects a hit has occurred, it will automatically roll damage. Or you can have it say that it only does damage if the attack hits, which isn't too bad, but the reason I don't do that is for certain things like shield spells, because if you do things like that, then a shield spell doesn't have time to kick in, and as the moment it detects a hit, it just rolls. Well, I think that has now changed slightly with the reaction workflow, but still I prefer to have it this way. Then we go to the main workflow. There's a lot of stuff here. So I always go walls blocking or defeated. So what this does is if someone places a spell template, anything under that template will get targeted. But this is telling it a wall block it, and if there's a defeated creature there, don't target it. Also target for range attack target types if the target type is creature, enemy, ally. I will say the same on that. I can't remember what that one does. And I say in combat on that. So what this means is in MIDI QOL, when you're in combat, if you try to use an ability that has a target, such as it says target self, target creature, it won't work unless you are targeted. It will give you a pop-up to say not targeted. On-call macro, that's a bit more advanced, but I do like it because it allows you to call macros into abilities. Auto apply effects, and that's good. So on this one is if you have an ability that says like an active effect set that upon a fail they are blinded, for example, this allows you to automatically apply that blinded feature to them. Now, here's a big workflow. Auto check if targets hit. I like to say all. So what this will do is when someone makes an attack roll, it will post into chat they've made an attack roll and it will say they've hit. And you can set it so that only you see or no one sees or all see. I like to see all. This is a relatively new feature, reactions. So if you have an ability on your character that has a time of reaction, such as the shield spell, this will automatically detect that you have that reaction, give you a pop-up, and ask whether or not you want to use it. Now, there are different settings for this. You can see here, player settings, NPC settings, and this is how you show. So you can either do it, you can either say it just pops and says attack hits, you can show the D20 roll only, or you can show the total. I like to show a total. I like to give people, say, 40 seconds. Saving throws, I automatically I go for this one. See result and save. So when you have a spell that has a effect that causes a saving throw to be actioned, such as say like a fireball spell, when you place this will automatically, when you roll a damage one, it'll automatically apply, it'll check the save for you, so you don't have to go in. So if someone's cast a fireball on like 20 goblins, you don't have to go to each goblin and roll. This will just automatically trigger and just make all those rolls for you. And what it does, it shows you in the chat. It will say these guys names tokens and gives you the dice roll next to it saying this is what's happened. I like that. So again, you can put the spell save DC if you want to hide it from people. so they don't know how the spell DCs are. I don't really mind. Spell description, I do tick this. So what this is, it will search the description of a spell to say if they've been damaged, if they've succeeded in the save, it will search the description to say half as much damage. If it is ticked, it will automatically half that damage, and it says here that if unchecked, it assumes it does half damage. I'll leave that as it is. Now this, I don't have these other modules installed, but I usually use this one, LMRTFY, which is let me roll that for you. What normally happens is when you when you get a spell effect, it will give the player a pop-up saying roll this save. These are modules. The Monk's token bar and let me roll that for you are modules. Otherwise, you can have a chat message. Put that in. For me, I set it's the GM auto roll set after. I'm gonna set it that just because there might be points where a creature has advantage on saving throws against like things like magic. And you can set a delay. So I'm gonna set. I usually set mine for about 30 seconds. It gives people 30 seconds to check their character sheet before they click. Now, auto damage. I do yes. And apply. So what this means is if someone is hit, it automatically rolls damage. So you don't have to keep going into it and going, oh, roll damage. You can just do that and it'll. Actually, I can't remember if I have yes. I think I don't actually. I'll change that. We'll change it. The damage immunities is it will check the character sheet to see if there are any immunities or physical resistances, which is really good. So if you have something that's like resistant to fire, they get hit by a firebolt, it will check to see if they are resistant and calculate that for you. A magical property. This is a feature on character sheets, so you can select that an item is magical, and it will do magical damage, and it detects. So there's a set resistance that says non-magical piercing and so forth. And this I also check. So this means this is for things like poison. So if you have, for example, a scorpion or spider bite that does piercing damage on the bite itself and poison with a save on the like sting or bite, what this does, you set it as the other formula. You set the save DC. If this is all set, if they succeed the save, it automatically applies half that damage rolled. If you haven't set it, excuse me, it will. So if they don't succeed, it'll apply full. You can set it like that. And here I put concentration automation here. So yeah, so this just has the automation for concentration. So let's go back to the top. Go to the mythic one. This is how you display your cards and chat cards in MIDI QL. I like to have everything, and I merge it into one roll. I did used to have it condensed, but I quite like having it separate now. And you can have it token name and portrait. I like that. It is statistics if you're interested in how like everyone rolls. It's a bit of fun. Speed rolls. So what this does is you can speed rolls allows you to determine how you roll. So to make sense, you can set MIDI QL that if you use faster rolls, pressing either a Control Alt when you click the ability, it will determine whether or not it is rolling with advantage, normal, or disadvantage. I personally just have the pop-up box that's default Foundry to ask that, but it's entirely to people, so I leave it unchecked. And I don't use the custom sounds on MIDI, so get rid of that. The last one is optional. Let's see what this pulls up. So when you do this, it gives you a whole bunch of actions. So Yeah, so these automatically set certain things. So hidden invisible attackers have advantage on attacks, and that sets automatically via combat utility belt. Attacking removes hidden or invisible. Again, conditional visibility is a module which I don't think is updated for the current version, which is 0.8.8. But what it used to do when it worked, it would, if you set someone as invisible or made a stealth check, it would hide that token from other people whose passive perceptions aren't high enough to notice it, or if they've not made a perception check. So you could basically move that token around if no one could, if it had a really high stealth and people wouldn't see it, and then you can attack with it, and it would then remove that feature. Incapacitated actors can't make attacks. Fair enough. Check weapon range. So this is to say, if you're in 5 foot, for example, and you've got a longsword, it will allow you to do it. But if they're 10 foot away, it'll just, you get a little banner message pop up to say you're too far away. Things like that. Walls block range attacks. But yes, on that, you do height. So this one automatically determines disadvantage if someone's in 5 foot of a range. So you can have that disabled, you can have that. And then these are house rules. I never use that because I don't really like the idea of causing people to have disadvantage if an ally's nearby. And I don't lose those. So we save that. That's MIDI QL setup. Symbol calendar is just a basic calendar. So let's change it to Alexandrian. So symbol calendar is a way of tracking in game time and dates and so forth. So it will automatically set, you see here. So this calendar is from Critical Role. You can see here it's already brought in like all the months involved, the weekday names, time settings, how it all works. Leap year settings, your moon settings, and so forth. So I'll just save that. You can change it how you want. You can do it all default. And the last few things, well, really the last thing is tidy sheets. Now this is a change to how your character sheet looks. I prefer this version. I use it all the time, so I'm not used to using it without. So let's go to settings here. So what it does, it allows you to choose different things. So you can see most of these. Yeah, so most of these are basic things. So you can hide the health bars if you don't want people to know. You can hide the inspirations and exhaustion trackers to only hover or non-exist if they're not been inflicted. You can hide the journal tab if you don't use that sort of thing. You can hide the class list. Most of these aren't really too much. NPCs, I like to have resting. So if I have a NPC accompanying the party, I'm able to post it into to rest it like normal so they recover. Otherwise, you have to kind of go in and reset all the abilities and hit points manually. You can hide the health bars, the overlay, always show traits. I do that. Move that below resources. No. Always show skills. I prefer to have that. And these are GM options. So you can have it so that players don't see death saves. Only DMs do. Now, I don't think most people use this, but it's an interesting result and option. So if you want to make things a little bit more wary, because obviously with 5th D&D, when people roll death saves, you usually, unless someone rolls a 1, a lot of players like that are fine. They'll make the saves. It's be all right. Leave them to it. Whereas this one, you don't know what they rolled, and it's like, okay, was that a 1? Was that a 20? What's going on? It's a way of kind of getting that urgency involved. You can show the player name on the right-click context. So on tidy sheets, if you want to like amend something, that you right-click on the item and you get a little pop-up box. You do that. You can change how the portraits look. Do you want it round or square? Hit points. I'm going to make it so that I can always edit them without having to lock sheet. Go to quantity. And then auto exhaustion effects. Yeah, so I'll put that in. So that automatically brings like the exhaustion, and it will, yeah, set use active effects. That will apply certain things to your characters. Yeah, modules. So you can show which page it appears. Did you want it to appear on the main page where your attributes are, or on the page where the actions are? Show active effects markers on items. So these are for mini QL. I don't generally tick those, and info is nothing there, so we save that. Time's up, and that's just basically if you want to debug it. I think that's pretty much it. So if we save that, that's all our stuff set in. So what you'll see here is something called Trigger. It's really quite nice. Trigger allows you to set certain triggers on abilities. Now, combat utility belt. Not brought it up. Wanted to use, yeah, so enable hand conditions. So that's what was missing there. You can see now, look, it has something called conditions lab. So conditions lab shows you, allows you to apply different conditions to characters. You see here they've all kind of set. There's loads of different ones. I tend to use the D&D ones only. So not sure. Yeah. System default, system custom. Go save mapping. Yeah. So here we go. So because I've got my system set as 5th edition D&D, what happens is it will automatically update to show these. So what these do is it's a marker on the token to show if they're affected by an effect, which we'll show in a bit. You see, like, so they've all been set in place, and it shows you how you can see the compendium. Compendium is basically, if you click on this, it will pop up and tells you what it does. Which is quite nice. So yeah, all these are all manageable. You can change these yourself. So there's lots more conditions here. You can apply them and create new ones by clicking on here and going on there. So the thing you can do with these, this is another automation which I'll show later, but you can use Trigger to determine when these effects are applied. So for example, what's the most useful one? Unconscious. So you can define in Trigger to say that when a PC or NPC reaches 0 or below 0 hit points, this is automatically applied. Quite a nice feature. So yeah, I think that's it for setting up the basics. You can see here there's still nothing put in place, but I'll leave this video here and I'll come back and I will do one on setting up a character or two or a couple of actors. So thanks for watching. I know it's quite quick and basic and you probably didn't learn that much except for some settings, but hopefully next time you'll see them more in action. Right, well, thanks a lot and see you all soon. Bye.